are on now. So we'll go ahead and get started. So for those of you who are joining us on the YouTube channel, Girls Talk Math is a 2-week camp that is generally held in person at the University of North Carolina and the University of Maryland. This year, due to COVID, we are going online, and so we've had the opportunity to do some new things, including this year we're doing this panel, which is featuring various women in various STEM fields that are not math. So a lot of our campers are not necessarily going to do careers in math, but they just have interest in math. And so we like to explore that as well as various STEM fields. This camp is for high school girls and non-binary individuals. Yes, I think that is the main points. So today, like I said, we are interviewing or have a panel of 4 or 5 women in non-math STEM fields. So I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. I am Samantha. I am one of the organizers at Girls Talk Math at University of North Carolina. Jennifer, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, I'm Jennifer Prairie. I'm an associate professor at the University of San Diego in the Department of Environmental and Ocean Sciences.
All right, and Elham?
Hi everyone, Elham Tabassi. I'm Chief of Staff at Information Technology Laboratory at National Institute of Standards and Technology. The lab is one of the 6 labs at NIST, and I also lead the Artificial Intelligence program at NIST.
All right, and Victoria?
Hi there, Vicky Pillitteri, also from NIST. I'm a cybersecurity researcher, and I lead the research portfolio that develops cybersecurity and privacy standards, risk management standards for the federal government.
Adrienne?
Oh, hi everyone. I'm Adrienne Cox. I'm a professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I run a cancer biology lab and I teach mostly grad students, but I mentor everyone that I come across who's interested in learning anything about how to do science in a rigorous manner and how to have fun doing it.
And Imilce.
Hi everyone. My name is Imilce Rodriguez. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at a pharmaceutical company called Genentech, and I'm doing research surrounding how aging affects stem cell biology.
All right, wonderful. So campers, I'm gonna start out by asking just a few questions that we prepared beforehand, but just like our interviews that we had on Saturday, go ahead and use that Q&A feature and you can submit questions for the panelists, and we'll pull from that as well as our prepared questions. So panelists, let's get started with, did you always know that you were going to pursue a career in the STEM fields, or did certain events lead you down this path? And we'll start with Imilce.
Okay. So for me, I always liked science in general. I think it was then like around high school that I inclined towards biology. But you know, I didn't know about scientific research as a career. So I was just thinking I'm gonna go and do an MD and be a physician, and that's it. It was until I actually entered the university and I was basically majoring in biology, is that summer after my freshman year, I got the opportunity to do a summer internship program through a program that like an honors program that I was part of the university. And that's when I actually got exposed to research, to actually be in a lab, be a scientist, do experiments. And that was the very first time. The high school that I went to, they didn't have that capability. So it was at that time that I realized, okay, I want to do this as a career, and I want to do and be a professor eventually. Yeah, so that's sort of the summary.
No, that's good. I would also not be in math grad school if I hadn't done research at some point. I feel like getting to do research is kind of what gets a lot of us to where we are.
Yeah.
Let's see, Adrienne, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I really wanted to do something with words. So I wanted to be a research librarian or maybe translate for the UN. And it didn't really occur to me to do anything STEMish. But when I was in high school in California, where I grew up, you had to take some science to graduate. So somewhat reluctantly, I did that. And in this biology class, we dissected frogs, and I held a beating frog heart in my hand. And that was mind-blowing to me. And it made me wonder all kinds of things that I never really thought about before. And one thing led to another, and that's how I ended up becoming a biologist. It was definitely an epiphany moment.
Mhm.
I think that epiphany moment would have led me the other way. But I'm glad that you found some happiness in that.
Well, for me, it was more like, why is it a heart? You know, why is it not an armpit or, you know, a toenail or something? And one thing led to another, as we do in science. And
That makes sense.
but I totally get why some people would look at that and go running, screaming in the other direction.
Yep, fair enough. Vicky, what about you?
Well, I mean, contrary to the other speakers, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do when I was in high school. I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to study something, but you know, I was trying to figure it out. I had some guidance from my parents to kind of push me along in the right direction, and that's how I ended up as an electrical engineer. If I was holding that beating heart, I would have run so fast from biology, you wouldn't even see me in the distance. But you know, it took some trial and error because, you know, when you're, you know, 16, 17, 18, you don't know what you're going to do with the rest of my life. I still haven't decided what I want to do when I'm actually an adult. So, you know, we'll get back to that.
So I'm the oldest person here. I can tell you there are many things that you never figure out, ever. And it's definitely the process, not the end point, that we really should be paying attention to.
But it's been a really great journey the whole way, right?
All right, Elham?
Yeah, I think my story is a little bit different. First, I have to let everybody know that I didn't grow up here. I didn't go to school in the US. I came to US after doing my undergrad school studies. So I kind of wanted to be this. I'm being told stories that at young age, I would have played teacher and force everybody to do what they wanted to do. And then by middle school, I was just fascinated with space, and I wanted to be an astronomer, and I loved math. So again, the culture, the environment that I grew up was a little bit different, and we didn't access to a lot of labs and camps for math or any of these things. But a lot of good influence from the aunt, uncle, and cousins, and they were all geeks and math wizards. And I just wanted to be one of them and be part of the gang. So that's how I got into this field.
Yeah, I've always been a math dork, but I also was not able to do these camps and stuff like that. So it's really cool being able to run one and make that
Absolutely.
available.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been really neat. And then Jennifer, I believe you're the last one here.
Yeah, like Vicky, I kind of had no idea what I was doing through all of undergraduate. I was just bumbling around. But I will say that as a young kid, I loved math puzzles and games and things like that. So I always kind of had a tendency, and a lot of it was that positive reinforcement that people told me I was good at it. And so I was like, okay, I'll keep doing this. People say I'm good at it. So I kind of like just was in college. I kind of, I actually became a math major because I just kind of was like, I like this. I don't really know what I want to do. I didn't know if I wanted to pursue math, but I just kind of kept doing things. And then it wasn't until like my junior year of college that I said, oh, I should think about what I want to do afterwards. But I didn't have like some dream as a little kid to be something when I grew up, you know, not that I was pursuing forever. And so I just kind of bumbled around. And I had remembered back in high school, I took a class about marine science. And I was like, I kind of like that. Maybe I'll do that. So I completely switched field and I went to get my graduate degree in oceanography, and someone let me in. And so I now use my math to study life in the ocean. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, picking up on what Adrienne said, it's never too late to kind of reevaluate, change course. It's about the process. Yeah, I didn't have things figured out at all. And when I went to grad school, I was intimidated first because I was with a lot of colleagues who, since they were 3, wanted to be marine biologists. And I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here because I didn't know I wanted to do history. But you know, everyone has their own path to get there.
Definitely. I think maybe around junior year of college for me, I saw those statistics about how many people graduate with the same degree they came in intending to graduate with. And it was shockingly low. You realize when you're in college and you're taking fun classes, you're like, ooh, I really like this class. Maybe I'll take some more of those and stuff like that for sure. All right. So then let's see. Do you think your experiences have been shaped or impacted by the lack of women in your field? A little tougher of a question. Let's start with Elham.
So growing up, my aunt was, who is only 11 years older than I am, was my role model. So I didn't, and I have to also add this, that I grew up in Iran and we went to segregated school. Boys and girls schools were different. So while I was in during the high school, I wasn't quite aware of number of the girls being much lower. I knew that the other thing is that at 9th grade, we were forced to decide if we want to do math and science or we want to do humanities. And even in math and science, we had to choose between mathematics and physics versus biology. So in 9th grade, I chose mathematics and physics, and I know that the number of the students in that field was much smaller than other classes. So that gave me a hint. But it wasn't until I went to college that I realized that from a class of 120 for electrical engineering, there was only 4 women, 4 girls. I think in many ways it also make us, the 4 of us, bolder because we sort of felt that we have to prove ourselves better. So if it had any impact, it was that I have a responsibility to carry the capabilities and the smartness or whatever for the girls. And then when I started working, then because I had already used to being so few girls or women in the field, the work was just extension of that. I have been working for 21 years now, and I only have boys. I have 2 boys, but after all years, I really realized that in a subtle way, in ways that I didn't know, it has shaped who we are and how we work. It wasn't a sudden impact, but in a lot of ways it has done. And we have a lot more to do, right? Girls and women are half the population, but only 30% in STEM education and STEM workforce. That was my story.
Yeah, I think I was lucky. I think I didn't realize it until I went to grad school because my undergrad was an education-based school. So there were a few more females in my class, but kind of like you, just kind of hit at one point. Oh, hey, there's a lot fewer females in this room for sure. Yeah. Adrienne, let's have you go next.
So I think the question is not, has it impacted you? It's how it's impacted you, right? So that happens at many different levels. There's first of all, thinking about what do you want to do? Where do you belong? There's opportunity, there's collegiality, there's mentoring, there's respect. There's how do you run your life? We could spend days on this one topic, but I think some of the important things that I'd like to convey are, one, just do it. You know, just do it. If you hear you can't, but you're a girl, or any of those things, just think duck, let it roll off your back. Nobody should be able to tell you what you want to do. Nobody should be able to tell you and override what you want to do as a direction for your own life. So then the question becomes, well, if I haven't seen any models, then how do I know what it should be like? And for some people that can be really limiting, but for other people it can be very freeing. And I would say that if you would like to have role models, it's fairly easy to seek them out. it's harder for them to come to you. But things like this, by all means, take advantage, contact us. For me, one of the most difficult things has been, well, you're a woman scientist. And I don't want to be a woman scientist. I just want to be a scientist. And I've struggled with this my entire professional life. And finally, it occurred to me, you know, that if people are going to either dismiss my abilities or discount me, or conversely say, oh, we need a woman, she's a woman, let's have her. I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the fact that they're offering me whatever opportunities. And I'm going to say, all right, here I am. This is what a woman scientist looks like. This is what a woman scientist does. And I've had this same conversation with many of my grad students, especially, you know, ones who are Black or Latina or so forth, you know, whether they do or don't want to be a double representative or a triple representative, or however many categories you fit in, or feel like you don't fit in any of them. You know, how do you want to present yourself and how do you want to be viewed by others? And I think it's something that we have to think about, but not let overwhelm us. And to the extent that being a woman offers you opportunities these days because people want diversity, go for it.
So I want to just touch on something that you mentioned earlier, which is like finding models in your field. If you are interested in math, on this YouTube channel, there will be some interviews of some prominent women in math. And then also, Girls Talk Math, we, every year, except this year, produce podcasts. Our campers create podcasts about women in math, and in recent years, they've even been able to interview their women in math and include that on the podcast. So if you go to our main website, which is girlstalkmath.com, you can find all our podcasts there, and you can find some info about some awesome women in math role models. Just throwing that out there. Victoria, why don't you go next?
Well, Adrienne made some really great points about finding mentors and finding those role models if that's what you seek, and also some great points on kind of diversity. My undergraduate degree is in electrical engineering, and I think females were less than 10% of my graduating class. My graduate degree is in computer science, maybe 25% were women. So, you know, being kind of different than your colleagues and your classmates is always a challenge, but it's an opportunity for growth. I think it's really taught me to be kind of very aware, but very tough, right? You're representing, like, stand up all the ladies, we got this. So you're representing the other women. And even if you don't feel like you're a role model, that you are a role model for someone else younger, your niece, your neighbors, you know, just the kids that are around, they're looking up to you, be like, wow, that lady's so cool. She goes to the lab and does, you know, crazy stuff with computers during the day. So you have the opportunity to become that role model. I've also had, you know, the blessing of finding mentors that are, you know, senior level, and not just one mentor. I have a mentor that's a Asian American woman that was once a bench scientist and now the deputy director of the lab. I have a mentor that's an African American woman that was once in the military and is in the C-suite of a federal agency. And you can't even discount that, you know, I work with a fellow at NIST who is an older Caucasian man who has championed me and supported my career and pushed for opportunities. So there's mentors in all shapes and sizes. They don't fall into your lap, but there's opportunities like this where you get to meet people and you put yourself out there. And that's how you can really make those connections and find those people to give you that support, because you might not get it through your cohorts in school. You might not. That's why you need to seek it out. You seek out that community, that family that will support you through. And otherwise, just be tough. You might have gotten in because they needed a diversity candidate, but you're there. Take advantage of that opportunity and kick its butt. You know, you might have been invited in because you were a woman. Just kick butt when you're there. Show why you were there, because you deserve to be there.
Amen.
Can I get a preach?
All right. Jennifer Prairie?
Yeah, I can echo some of the things that others have said. When I was growing up, and particularly in math classes, and in college and math classes, I think partly because I had 2 brothers and I had lots of friends who were guys, I kind of said, oh, I'm one of the guys. Like that's kind of how I understood it to myself, which was really weird because later in grad school, I realized, no, I don't have to be one of the guys. I can be me, you know, but because of that, that was kind of how I kind of shaped it to myself. So it was really, you know, as someone said, like not until graduate school that I actually kind of thought like, oh, what does it mean to be a woman in science? Not because I felt necessarily different, but because people perceive you that way, right? And so what I really realized at that point, and some people importantly have touched on the importance of mentors, but find peers, friends that you can talk to. And in graduate school, that was really important to me. I don't know if in your camp you've talked about imposter syndrome at all, but it's hard to make it all the way through science and not have imposter syndrome at least a little bit or a lot through it, where you're doubting whether you should be there, whether can I really hack this? And then you start to make good friends in your, whether it's in your field or in other fields, and you realize everyone feels that way, right? And then that makes you feel like, okay, of course, it's natural to doubt yourself sometimes. There's no way to get through this whole thing and not question sometimes, or a lot of the times, that can I make it? But having those friends and colleagues who are going through some of the same feelings and navigating this new graduate school experience, that was big for me. And I wish I had that sooner. I just kind of it didn't click to me like, well, even that I wanted to go into science or anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, so campers, we haven't talked about imposter syndrome yet, but that is actually this Saturday. We'll be having a talk about that. But Jennifer summarized it pretty well. It's when you feel like you don't belong, like you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, or whatever, you got here by chance, when in reality, it really was your own successes, your own efforts, and so forth that got you there. And having those conversations with peers, finding out where other people are, can definitely be enlightening about, oh, okay, I'm not just an idiot. Everyone is struggling. I had plenty of those moments in grad school. Definitely important. Yes. And then let's see, Imilce, you were...
Yeah, so I actually have a very similar like stories to sort of everyone. So basically, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so I'm from a Latino culture, so I'm a double minority, you would say, a Latino and also a woman, and I take advantage of every opportunity that there is. I feel like if the opportunities are there, you should definitely take advantage of them. So that's something that I always, throughout my career, I've been doing. But in terms of the way I grew up, I think that even though I'm coming from a very machista society, so meaning like men are the one that usually take over like leadership positions and all these like complicated careers and so on, I was lucky enough that the way I grew up and I was raised, I come from a very big family, and I was surrounded by 4 brothers, 1 sister, so we're a total of 6 siblings. And I think growing up, I never felt like, oh, you're a woman, you're less. So I'm sort of like, I have all the opportunities in the world. I can do whatever I want, you know? So I was definitely, I'm happy that my mom and dad like raised me that way. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. So not everyone is raised that way, of course. And sometimes you have like these moments that you realize is like, oh, maybe I'm here because I'm a woman, or I'm here because I'm a Latino, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you just have to, you're there because you're worth it, and you're doing it the right thing, and you're in the right track, and you have something to give others, and you know, to help others. So I think in general, something that I learned through my career is that be nice, be a nice person, always pay it forward. I had many mentors throughout my careers, and you know, sometimes having that conversation with a peer, that could be a woman or a man or anyone, and just realize that you're going through the same things, and realize that you're going through the same struggle, And again, pointing to that imposter syndrome, every single person has it. Like, it doesn't matter if they're like a director or a CEO of a company. I'm sure they suffer through imposter syndrome. And that was a realization that I was having with one of my advisors, that I was talking about imposter syndrome, like randomly, like social conversation. And he was like, oh, I have it too. And I was like, you have it? And you're this very successful person. And then this is like the point in my life that I realized, okay, everyone is going through this. It's normal, it's okay. Just keep a growth mindset, which is another thing that maybe you're gonna be talking about. Just, you know, we're here to learn. So just take advantage of that. And it's okay if you don't know every single answer in the world. It's totally okay. So those are kind of like philosophy of my life, and definitely something that, yeah, you have to keep reminding yourself.
I think that's a really important part of imposter syndrome, is talking about it, like I said before. Yeah, I also had a moment where I was talking to a grad student in my year who's just genius smart, came in, wasn't even taking the first year classes, all of that made us all feel like idiots. And he was talking about, yeah, you know, I really struggle sometimes. And it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been scared of saying that I'm struggling because I think you're all so smart and so good. And like, oh, if I talk about it, I find out other people are feeling the same way. Yeah.
I would argue that anybody who doesn't feel that from time to time is clueless. You know, even Nobel laureates have imposter syndrome. So who are we to not have it from time to time? The trick is not to let it overwhelm you, and to recognize that it's a thing that everybody goes through. And yeah, we are here to learn.
Yes, for sure.
And to help each other through it. And to recognize that really the person you should be competing with is yourself.
Yeah.
Your best, not somebody else's best. That was very freeing for me.
Yeah. I want to, if I may, I want to just pick up on that and say that on the imposter syndrome and all the other struggles, understanding that struggles and all this is part of life. Everybody is going to face this, but the question is, can we grow through them? Can we extract wisdoms from these experiences and be better about the things that we do? And on the part about competing with yourself, some of you may have ran into the TED Talk or the book about finite versus infinite game by Simon Sinek. So life is an infinite game. It's not about winning the next battle, the next thing. It's about getting better and moving on. So so my advice is just working on building stamina and courage to sustain the spirit and make it your job to use any opportunity and any challenge for growth and be a better person, not just on the technical matters and getting this task better, but in general about being more resilient and be able to get any of these struggles into making a part of yourselves better and stronger.
I think there was a lot of wonderful bits of wisdom in that last 20 minutes. I will probably be rewatching that later. So let's see, we had a question that a bunch of campers have been interested in. So they were asking, are you guys happy in your jobs in the fields that you pursued? Or did you ever rethink or doubt the route that you were taking? And let's go ahead and start with Jennifer.
Yeah, I am happy. I'm very happy, but I definitely doubted myself many times. I mean, I did not know what I was doing. And even though, you know, I mentioned when I got to graduate school, I actually struggled in graduate school my first couple years quite a bit. And part of the things that one of the best advice I can give you if you want to maybe pursue STEM in a kind of an academic way that some have touched on is get undergraduate research experience, because I didn't have that. And so then I got to graduate school and I said, oh, you know, I'm good at classes, or at least I know how to do the classes. I can do that. But people were asking me to do things I didn't know how to do, like ask questions and read scientific papers and problem solve. And I was like, I've never done any of this. So the independence was really overwhelming. The imposter syndrome set in a lot. For me, sometimes research felt really isolating. So even through graduate school, I said, okay, I like this thing I'm studying, but what am I going to do with it? How could I see myself as a career? And so it took me until the end of graduate school where I found a way that I thought I could do it and be happy. And that was, I really liked teaching. And so I found that I got a chance to teach some classes as a TA, or actually as a full instructor as an adjunct. And I was like, wow, this is the way I really can do this. And I liked research too, but that way I can do research with students and figure out kind of how it worked for me. And so I purposely then, as I was finishing grad school, going through my postdoc, tried to target that type of career. And so now at the school I'm in at University of San Diego, it's a primarily undergraduate school. I get to teach a lot. It's something that I like. It's not for everyone. I know many of my colleagues who would hate my job, but I get, for me, it's fast paced. I get to work with students all the time. And then in the summer, right now, I'm doing research with all my undergraduate students. And so, yeah, I think there's not one way to do it. And you have to be humble enough to say, like, it's okay that the way these other people are doing it doesn't work for me. And vice versa, right? Like, I would never fault someone for like not wanting my job. So yeah, so it's, for me, I think the way, when I tell people I'm an oceanographer, they imagine me out on boats all the time. A little bit of a secret is that I get really seasick. So I actually try not to go out on boats. I've done some oceanographic research, but I try to avoid them when I can. But for me, it was like, okay, finding the way that this works for you. Yes, you love the ocean, but there's more than one ways to be an ocean scientist, whether that's in a national lab or in the classroom or whatever that is for you. So yes, I am happy, but it took me a while to figure it out.
Yeah, that is fair. And that's something that I think a lot of people find as they're going through undergrad and grad school, is just the experiences that you sometimes happen upon really help you figure out, oh, that's exactly what I want to do within this area. So nice. Victoria, would you go next, please?
Oh, you're muted, or we can't hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No.
All right, I had to lose the headphones. I've gone through 2 pairs already today. Should have tried them all, right? Well, candidly, life is a journey, right? Every day is going to be a little bit different. I really do like my career and how it's ended up. I will say I ended up here in an interesting way, from engineering to computer science to cybersecurity. But it's an exciting field. There's lots of opportunity. It's always changing and dynamic. And I get to work with, the best and the brightest across the federal government, leading a technical team and also doing a lot of the kind of program management and kind of the working on those soft skills that are so hard to learn in school. I recently had an opportunity to apply for and got accepted into a senior executive development program that's government-wide. So, there's another opportunity to pivot again from, that technical background to kind of a more senior leadership role. So, every day is a little bit different. Hopefully every day is exciting, right? But I do really like what I do. And, every day is just it's a different adventure, and I think that's one thing that I really like about my job. I never know exactly what the day is going to entail.
That does sound like it would be a very nice variety. Nice. Let's go with Imilce next, please.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background. So basically, I did my undergrad back in Puerto Rico, and then I did my PhD in human genetics at UCLA. So I moved to California, all the way from Puerto Rico. And then now I'm in the postdoc, basically. So I'm in that part of deciding what to do next. And basically, like, I'm still very interested in pursuing a career in academia. And I'm at that part of the end of my postdoctoral training. But of course, COVID-19 has made things very complicated for people that are looking for jobs right now. So one advice that I would give is just to be flexible and be open to other type of opportunities. So right now, I will say I definitely enjoy my career so far. I realized that I really like the challenge of what doing research entails, that every day is different, that experiments, you plan everything and they don't even work as planned sometimes, and you have to pivot and you have to come up with new things. And so I really like the whole process of like critical thinking and going from an idea to something that you can test. So the whole process has been great. Now that I'm like looking into what to do next, so I'm applying for faculty position, but also I'm thinking about entrepreneurship opportunities, because basically, as here there's a couple of faculties, and they realize like running a lab is very similar to sometimes running a startup. So that's something that I'm opening my mind to. So I'm in that part. So we'll see what happens in the next few months, but I'm in that process of like have a very open mind and checking what's out there and what I would like to have. But the core of it, I want to have a job that is still challenging for me, that is forcing me to learn new things. So it's basically similar to the stuff that I've been doing for the past couple of years, or many years, I would say. Yeah.
Best of luck with that job search, right?
Thank you.
Not envious. Oh, goodness. Let's go next. Adrienne?
Oh, sorry if I just... yeah, so when I was in high school, all I knew was that I wanted to do more biology. And I just wanted to learn as much as I could and do as much as I could. So undergrad, that's what I did. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? How am I going to get paid for doing this stuff? So I figured I should go to grad school, but I was really tired of school at that point. So I went and got a job. And I moved to Hawaii because my roommate was from there. And I got a job that was just money. It had nothing to do with any biology research at all. And I was just sort of trying to figure out, how am I going to progress here? That's a whole nother detour that, I can tell any of you who are interested, you can email me. But anyway, my first real biology job afterwards was something that I was completely ignorant about. I had absolutely no idea. So the guy who's running the lab said to me, okay, now we're going to wash the cells. And in real life, what that means is that you put the cells into a test tube and you spin them down in a centrifuge and you take off the liquid that they're in and you put more liquid in. But, I had no idea. I'd never seen it, done it. So I had this vision that there was this little shower somehow. And I felt so confused by not knowing anything. And it was both exciting and overwhelming at the same time. But because I got a chance to do so many new things and apply that knowledge really quickly to answering real research questions, some of which were very basic and some of which were immediately translated into an immunotherapy clinic that this guy also ran. It just felt like the right thing for me. And so I went to grad school, and I have been so lucky in my life because I've just sort of put one foot in front of the other and said, okay, well, now I think I'd like to do this. And I was able to make it happen. And I've never second guessed whether I should be a biologist. I've never second guessed whether I should be a cancer biologist, but I have found that unexpected detours end up being really useful in your life in ways that you can't predict. And so I kind of want to, grab as much information and as many opportunities and as many inquiries as I can. And so for me, being in academia is perfect because you get to be the boss. You decide what you want to work on and you recruit other people to do that with you. And it's perfect for me, is what I can say.
That's fair. There's a lot of little things in academia that you don't necessarily realize maybe as a high schooler and so forth, like the ability to travel to conferences and things like that.
Oh my God, all over the world, yes.
Yes.
Not anymore though.
No. The North Pole to Australia, and yeah.
You
Get
can
to that
work
part
the
and be
travels at the
fabulous.
conference you were supposed to do in China. Yeah.
So, okay, here's a story. When SARS was a thing, I was invited to give a talk in Hong Kong, and I couldn't go because SARS, and I was very disappointed. We ended up doing that whole conference in Santa Barbara, California, and it was June, so it was foggy, and everybody was complaining about it. And I just remember thinking, this could be really bad, and it wasn't. And so when COVID came along, I'm like, okay, maybe it'll go away like that. And yeah, life has a funny way of coming back at you.
That would be nice. I'm doubtful, but that would be nice. Oh, and let's see, Elham.
Yeah, remember that I wanted to be, you know, math was my playtime thing, and I really wanted to be a scientist. So it was no surprise that I went to both undergrad and graduate school for electrical engineering and get a job to do that. And I really like that. So as Vicky said, life has ups and downs. It's going to be a lie to say that every day is joy. But I like, and I still like the challenge of the you know, discovery, not knowing what it is, and try to decode that. And I have to tell you that it comes with a lot of frustration, a lot of days that you just want to bang your head on the wall. But for some reasons, it's some sort of, you know, unlocking energy, and you want to keep doing it. So yes, I do like my job, and I'm kind of lucky that, and you know, for a lot of, I think, scientists, that you can just do science and be away from a lot of, you know, bureaucracy or politics, and just do science and do good science. So that's a really good thing. And the other thing I want to say is that, but also be open to opportunities and other paths and other doors that may present themselves to you and open up themselves to you. I tell you my own story, that I never ever thought that I'm going to do anything other than science, writing codes and doing maths and writing papers and going to the conferences and just be happy doing that, until at my work I was asked to do an assignment, a detailed assignment we call it, that was nothing about doing the scientist's work and writing the codes. And to be very honest, I thought that I was a really bad scientist. I wasn't doing my job, and that was their way of getting rid of me. And just because I didn't know how to say no, I submit myself to that detail, and that opened up so many other opportunities, so many other career paths. I never thought of getting and start leading something like a NIST AI research program. I always consider myself as the person that want to actually sit and do the research, because the truth is I still do that, and I still get a lot of energy and happiness about doing the research. But be open to this. So for you guys, just try different things, take different classes, go to different camps. Even if you think that you are sure you want to do, I don't know, computer science, be open up to take some classes in art, in something totally different. And never say, never say no, but also, be open and try to take challenges and adventure. And as I said, grow through this. Be open-minded. Try different things. Don't settle. Try to enjoy yourself, and it will come. What's exactly right will come. I share another story. My youngest son just finished undergrad. He is also a very geek and nerdy. He struggled between the decision to go to workforce or go to graduate school. And we let him explore, take internship, think about it, and figure out what it is. But as I keep telling him, he chose grad school and he's going to go to grad school. But as we keep telling him, even if you do for some years what you think that was the right thing for you, but you need a break, you need to do some other things. You are young. Take advantage of this. Don't think that if I stop, if I don't finish it, that means a failure. failure doesn't have really any meaning unless you define it the way you want it. We learn and we move on. One other thing I want to add is also the importance of taking time for yourself, taking plug out, completely log off, do nothing, go, I don't know, go do rowing, go to nature, make sure that you have some mechanism to replenish your energy. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. We throw ourselves at work because we really enjoy this, but it's also important to know that to sometimes plug out, log off, do some other things. And again, give yourselves plenty of opportunity, try different things. Even at my age, I'm not even sure that this is exactly the right thing. But we just do the things that makes us happy, and so just be happy and do that, and give yourself all the rights that and a couple of people said it here, that you belong, that this is your right. You should do this and be unapologetic about this.
Can I touch on something that Elham said?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's really important that, you know, it's true that I love my job, but I think it's important what Elham said, that it's not, that I didn't paint an overly rosy picture for it. I have some friends who kind of maybe early on in graduate school had this idea that there's just going to be this dream job where you love every minute of it. And all of us can tell you there's days where there's bureaucracy that you cannot, that are stopping from you doing from what you want. You filled out the wrong form. The form you want doesn't even exist. You're working with difficult personalities. So it doesn't mean there's no job where there's not things you don't like. It's about finding the thing that you get to do most of your time. You get to spend doing the types of things you like, but there will always be frustrations, and that's okay. Like, that just kind of comes with life. So
that's a super important point, and I would like to second and third all of those comments. That, you know, if it's something that you find yourself hating all the time and dreading going, it's not the right place for you. But if there are just some days when it's like, oh my God, I should have gone into real estate or something, you know, that doesn't mean you should abandon it completely. It just means it's a bad day or a bad week or a bad month or whatever. But it is definitely finding the balance. And I would also say, don't let people tell you that there's only one right way to do things. Many, many times people have said to me, you can't do it that way. And, you know, worked out fine for me. So
adding to that, sorry, taking too much time, also build a network. We talked about talking, you know, we talk in the context of the imposter syndrome, but about everything else. Talk about the days that you are happy and makes you happy. Talk about things that frustrates you. Build a network. Be transparent. And this was some sort of a discovery for me, that a lot of my struggles are the things that other people struggle through that too. And just knowing that you are not alone, and this is just part of life, opens up your perspective, gives you insight, gives you some confidence that it is not just you, but also helps you find other angles of looking at the issues. And this is a lesson that I got from some of the people that I have a lot of respect for. Each challenge can also be an opportunity. You know, Japanese, the challenge and opportunity words for them is light and shadow. So they always are put together. So each shadow is because there is some light. So let's try to figure that opportunity. So every time that some things that you find struggle or frustrate you, try to figure out what's the opening, where's the light there. And one way of doing this is build a network and talk with people. So don't ever be worried or ashamed or feel uncomfortable to talk, but you need to find your network. You need to find your safe space that you can share your feeling as the other people share, and all of you grow together.
Yeah, and another thing is just to ask for help. It's totally okay to ask for help. So that's another thing. Once you have your network, just because people have like great advice and they have ways of doing things that could like help you as well. So
absolutely, getting a different perspective. You know, sometimes it's getting a different perspective to you say, hey, it's not that bad, or hey, actually this is an opportunity, not just all downsides.
All right, let's try to do one more quicker question. Y'all have so much advice. It's wonderful. So let's see. This one, a number of campers were interested in, and it's who inspired you to pursue your career? Sorry, I have to tell you in order. Let's start with Adrienne.
I think it was my across the street neighbor who was a social worker. Why did a social worker inspire me to be a biologist? Because she was so happy doing what she did. It just made her feel like life was worth living and she was doing something valuable and interesting. And so I wanted to do something that felt the same way for me.
All right, awesome. And Victoria, please.
I don't know if I can point to a specific person, but again, it's just the idea of, you know, waking up every day and loving what you do and being excited for the challenges most days, right? Most days. Loving what you do most days. Being able to go to work and make an impact, a positive impact, leaving the world a better place than when you found it, and just building that community. So it doesn't have to be what you're doing right now. It could be what you're doing next, but just looking for that opportunity where you find, you know, what's for you. Having that attitude is all you need, right?
I'm noticing a pattern. People being happy is what we were going after.
Or being fulfilled maybe, right?
Oh, sorry, what was that?
So you won't always be happy.
Generally happy.
And you shouldn't think if you're not always happy, then you're doing the wrong thing. But you should feel fulfilled overall. And if you want to get off onto a different track, do it. Because it's your life. Do it.
Definitely. Elham?
You know, as I said, when I was young, it was my aunt. She's a very strong woman. Now I'm thinking, I never thought about this, that why I never picked a man as role model. So she still is. She was just very strong and find a way to do things her own way. And I grew up in a very male-dominated society, so that was very refreshing. But I have to tell you that now I get a lot of inspiration from younger generations. You guys are really a breath of fresh air in your openness, in the way that you study, you research, you figure things out. You are spontaneous. Many of you guys are from younger age want to be yourself rather than be a shell of yourself. So my generation grew up with pretend to belong until you began to. You guys are changing that narrative to we are ourselves, and we're going to show the world that we are ourselves. So inspiration are everywhere. And for me, really, I always say that every day I learn something new from my children and their friends. So keep rocking, you guys. The future is yours, and we know that you are in good shape with you guys leading to future.
Definitely. Running this camp is always very fun every year, seeing the enthusiasm of the campers, and especially seeing that enthusiasm grow over the 2 weeks. It's really, really fun seeing the future of STEM happening. Let's see, Jennifer?
Yeah, similarly, to Vicky, I don't know if there's a single person, but I definitely can attest to the fact that your interactions with your teachers, whether it's in high school or college or graduate school, definitely shape you. It can attract you to a certain field or chase you away from it, because whether it's just their teaching style or the fact that they encourage you or whatever it is, that matters. And so there's kind of a couple maybe lessons to learn to that. One is that, you know, if you find a great teacher or a person who takes, you know, interest in your learning, then like, great, take advantage of that. But also if you have a negative experience, it's not about you, right? That doesn't mean you're bad at, you know, whatever field, or that, you know, that field isn't for you, and kind of reflect and be like, oh, is it just that this teacher, whether they were discouraging or maybe their teaching style didn't align with you know, for whatever reason. So I definitely had, you know, when I made that weird switch from after college to go to oceanography, and I reflected back on the high school class I took, it's because that high school teacher was encouraging and made oceanography fun, you know? So I said, oh, like, I kind of like that oceanography thing. But for me, it was just the way it was taught, it clicked and it was exciting. But I think that could have happened in maybe several fields for me. It was just, you know, and a lot of it's timing and things like that too. So, and then in graduate school, it was actually more my peers that convinced me that, like, oh, I belong here. Eventually, once I kind of found that network, it didn't happen right away.
Awesome. And then Imilce.
Yeah, so I cannot think of one particular person, but I think my professors, when I was an undergrad, I think that was a source of inspiration, because I could see what a professor, you know, I mean, can be basically what could be the impact of one professor into students. Basically, I was coming in from a minority major institution, so I mean, I did my undergrad in Puerto Rico, so, and I could see like how, you know, as a professor, you can impact your student positively and bring them all these opportunities, like going to the United States and do research over there, or have summer research experience back in the island as well. So I realized that. I was like, oh, this is super exciting. I mean, you can be a professor, but you can have a, you know, a great impact in others just by being that person. Sometimes they don't even realize they're doing this. But I think as a student on the other side, learning from that, I think was super powerful for me. And yeah, so sort of, so I got that inspiration. And as Jennifer mentioned too, whenever you also have a bad professor, learn from that person too, what not to do to others. So for me, I was lucky that I had really good professors, but I also saw others bad one. And that's when you realize, it's like, if I ever am a mentor in the future, this is how I'm gonna be doing things as well. I wanna help, I wanna motivate people. I don't wanna discourage anyone. I wanna have, you know, help them be the best version of themselves, so, to have that power. So.
All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you all very much for coming and giving such wonderful advice. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone unmute and clap, but we can't do that. So.
Thank you for putting such a great program together. You know, I wish we had these opportunities when we were all in school. I'm going to speak for everyone, just to build that network, make friends with people with similar interests. And that means so much. So thank you. And I hope you guys have a great virtual program this year.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck with the rest of your program.
Good luck.
Yep. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Very good.
Bye.